Hi, my name is Heather Gill, and today I'd like to share a story with you from my book called Reflections on Life and Living. Before I begin, I'm a certified life coach and hypnotherapist, and I'll let you draw your own conclusions about today's story. It's called A Boy and His Father. Once upon a time, there was a boy and his father. When the boy was 10 years old, he asked his father, "Daddy, how do I become a man?" The boy's father thought to himself, and after a long silence, he said, "Be kind and honest." The boy sat there, and he thought about it for a long time, and then he jumped up and ran off. The next day, when he was at school, he saw there was a little girl sitting there alone and crying. The boy got up and went over to where she was. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My friends made fun of me because I don't have enough money for lunch," she said. The boy scratched his head. "I don't have any money, but my mom packed an awful big lunch for me today, and I can't eat it all. Do you want some?" She shyly nodded. They sat together and shared his lunch. They talked about all kinds of things, from the teachers they liked and didn't like to what they wanted to be when they grew up. She wanted to be a movie star. He wanted to be a firefighter. A few years went by, and the boy is 16. He saw his dad working in the garage, and he walked over and he said, "Dad, what does it take to be a man?" His father thought about it for a while and said, "A man sticks up for people who can't stick up for themselves. A man conducts himself with honor and strength." The boy sat there and thought about it for a long while, and then he walked off. Later that day, the boy and his friends went for a drive. They were going to the store to buy some treats for a movie they were going to see later. When they got to the store, they saw a beautiful girl who was about their age, and she was slowly walking up and down the aisles. He walked up to her and said, "Hey, it's been a while since I've seen you. How are you?" And they got into a conversation. While they were talking, she picked up a can of tuna fish and stuck it in her pocket. He returned to his friends, who immediately started giving him a whole bunch of lighthearted teasing about talking to the beautiful girl. They picked up their treats and headed to the register. The girl was ahead of them in line, and all she had was a loaf of bread. The clerk looked at her and said, "Is that all you have, miss?" She said yes, and reached for her money. She paid for the bread and started to leave the store. When she got to the door, 2 men came from the back office and grabbed her by the arms. "You'll have to come with us, miss." And they started to lead her to the back of the store. The boy got out of line and hurried to catch up with them. "Hey, excuse me," he said to the men. "Where are you taking her?" "Back to the manager's office to wait for the police," they said. "Oh, this is about the tuna, isn't it?" the boy said as he stepped in front of the door to the office. "Son, step aside. This is none of your business," they replied. But there's been a mistake," the boy said. "You see, I dared her to try and steal it. I teased her and teased her until she did it. She wasn't really going to walk out the door with it. "So you mean to tell me that this was some kind of prank?" one of them asked. "Yes," said the boy. "It's really my fault." They turned to the girl and let go of her arms, and they said she could go. But they gave her a nice lecture about the dangers of peer pressure. When the girl turned to leave, no one saw the tears that were sliding down her face, and no one heard her stomach growling. The two men escorted the boy to the back office and called his father. 10 years goes by, and now the boy's 26. He goes over to his parents' house to visit with his dad. He asks his dad, "Dad, what does it take to be a good family man?" His dad rubbed his chin and said, "Always listen to what your wife has to say, and always make her happy she married you. Always make the time to be with your children, to play with them, to listen to them, and to learn from them." The boy hung out with his dad for a few more hours and then drove home, all the while thinking about what his dad said. Now 20 years have passed. The boy has always been close to his father, and now his dad, who had always been so strong and loving, lay dying. The boy went to his bedside and said, "Dad, you were always such an inspiration to me. You always guided me and made me think about what it was to be a man. Are you proud of the man I turned out to be?" The boy's father was silent for a while, and he said, "Son, I've had the privilege to watch you grow over the years. You watched out for the girl who had no money to eat. You stood up for people who had no voice or the courage to stand up for themselves. I've seen you with your wife and children, who you always made time for, no matter how exhausted you were. You know, I couldn't have been prouder of you and your journey to becoming the man that you are today. Son," and he looked into his boy's eyes and touched his hand, "I could not be prouder of you. You've become the man that I've always longed to be." After their visit, the boy drove home, crying, because he knew it would be the very last time he saw his father alive. When he reached his home, he sat in his garage, trying to pull himself together. Slowly, he got out of his car and went into the house. He opened the door and stepped into his home. The little boy that his wife and he had adopted last year ran up to him and threw his arms around him and then snuggled into his neck and said, "Daddy, I love you." Then the man set the boy down and took his hand, walked him to his bedroom, and tucked him in. The little boy looked up at his dad with love and admiration in the way that only children can do. And he said, "Daddy, what does it take to be a man?" that's the end of the story. I wrote it quite a while ago, and what's important about it is that not only our children watch, but our parents watch too. That they can both learn and grow from us, and we can learn and grow from them. Our mistakes, our foibles, our missteps, it's all a part of the journey. And if you want to reach out to me and talk about this more, I can be reached at my website, www.heathergilllifecoaching.com, and you can leave a message for me there, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it some more. Remember, as my friend would say, keep walking forward, don't look back, be safe, kind, and well. Until next time, I will see you next Tuesday. Have a great week.